You got to learn to see beyond polarity so that you can embrace the duality of your wholeness. Welcome back to Along the Spiritual Journey. I am Jah, your spiritual tour guide, and the letter of the day is O for oneness. Oneness is a concept that came to me back in the day when I was learning how to integrate not only what we call feminine energy and masculine energy, but as a man of the LGBTQ plus IA spectrum, there was a lot of energy that I had to learn how to consume based on what other people told me of who I was. And so that breakdown became something that later became an understanding of, most people don't understand what oneness is. They only see the polarized versions of the halves of self. In order to truly embrace oneness, you have to embrace both sides of yourself. And so for me, I went through that range of people telling me as a young kid, don't act like a girl, don't do this, don't play with dolls. And it was really weird because in my mind as a kid, I didn't associate it with anything other than it's a toy, right? And so you just play with a toy as a toy is, and that's all it became to me at that time. But I kept getting a lot of adult males yelling at me and being angry, and I was like, I don't understand why everyone's so angry. And it'd be a lot of adult females too, where they were always trying to tell me how to act like a boy and how to be a boy. And I'm just like, what does that mean? And so it took me a lot of, I would say, confidence to step into self, but also conceptualization of saying, we identify with objects the same way we identify with our identity. And that is so archaic and it's so, to me, backwards, because at the end of the day, we as humans create whatever there is that we put on our bodies, right? We create every aspect of us, this hat, this shirt, all of it, right? So you're telling me if this hat was pink, it's now for a girl? It's the same hat, it's just the color. So for me, it doesn't make sense that I would have to separate my identity of who I am based on a color or a piece of article of fabric, right? Or what games I like to play or what toys I play with. And so that was my first introduction of learning what oneness was, because in one aspect, I had to learn how to act like a boy to appease the adults around me and the relatives around me. And then when I was around my friends, I got to be more of my feminine energy. But I also learned that embracing my femininity didn't mean that I actually wanted to be a girl. And again, this is not to tear down anybody's journey, it's explaining my journey. So for me, I went through a lot of understanding of who am I? What do I want to be? I feel a lot of feminine energy in me, but I also know that I enjoy my masculine energy. And those two concepts kept coming back to a point of me thinking, I am both masculine and feminine. I am both the energies of action as well as receiving. I am also, not only can I be hard and dominant, but I can also be soft and loving. And again, it doesn't matter what gender you want to identify with. It comes back down to how do you express your feminine and masculine energy. And so when I was able to do that, that is what got me closer to what we call the universal energies, the spiritual energies. And that's when I was able to stop being so, what I considered archaic in my heart, and being able to see other sentient beings as the whole that they are, right? I always go back to animals and nature. You know, they literally play both roles in a lot of different ways, but for the most part, I saw them as their identity, not as some alien species or dinner. Again, no disrespect to what anyone else likes or does, but it's again going back to these are all conceptual things that are part of our observation in life. And so when we start to identify only with byproducts of something, or we start identifying with an attribute of something, then we start to box ourselves off and we start to lose that part of what we consider the oneness or wholeness. Because to actually be a universal thinker or a conscious thinker, you have to be open to all. You have to be open to all masculine and feminines, no matter what shape, size, creed they come in. You have to be open to all understanding of the polarized version versus the dualistic version, polarized version being most cisgender people. They identify with either, if I'm a man, then I'm all masculine. If I'm a female, I'm all feminine, versus the duality of those who are more fluid. We call it fluidity, which is you fall into saying, well, I'm a masculine man, but I'm soft, right? Or I'm a feminine woman, but I'm hard, right? You know, these are all different mismatches of our energy, but they still come back to the integral part of who we are, which is the bridge, which is that middle space of, can we hold space for both without diluting the other? And so when we can do this, when we walk into this spiritual journey and we talk about shadow work and trauma work and all these things from our past, that's what catches up to us, because a lot of our ancestors made decisions based on these very simple concepts, right? Some people went to school and did a certain job just because they were told that's what men do. There were some people who went to school and did that career or lifestyle just because they said that's what women do. And then they get to a certain age and say, I wish I had listened to myself. I wish I had trusted myself. I wish I had just went off and did what I felt I wanted to do, right? Because that's wholeness. That's oneness. Remember, oneness and wholeness are interchangeable. But when you can, again, what we talk about, the kundalini, when we awaken that, it's saying that I understand that not only am I a creator, but I'm also a co-creator in doing. I'm a co-creator in giving. So these two things make me whole, right? Instead of just being one thing, we can be multiple things. So when we choose to only be one thing, as a human, we're going to feel depression. We're going to feel anxiety because we're like, why am I being put in this box? Why am I in this one path? And we know that there's multiple paths out there that any of us can take at any point in time. But if we choose to relay, replay, or become part of someone else's script or play and continue to be a part in their life, even though they don't care about yours, then you're going to start to lose that sense of self. That's when we talk about identity and autonomy and sovereignty. These are all encompassing, right? Because your identity comes back to, how do you experience yourself? When you're in a room by yourself, living life, how are you experiencing yourself? You have an imagination, you have things, you have desires, there's things you want to do, there's things you love doing when you're on social media or whatever, and you're scrolling and there's things that catch your attention. It's because it's speaking a story to who you are. And then a part of you gets excited and ignited, and you're like, I can do that, I want to do that. And you go out and express that energy to the world, and sometimes people don't receive it well. That's where you have to understand autonomy. How do you self-govern that emotion of, well, they don't understand, or they don't like it, or they don't agree? That doesn't matter. If it's not making me happy, then that's their opinion. There's going to be some things that, again, make you happy that everyone doesn't agree with, because maybe it's not the best decision as far as the consciousness of collective goes, right? But then there are some things that you have to kind of go against the grind and realize that, okay, well, they might not agree, but I don't see the disadvantages, I see the advantages, so I'm gonna do it. And then it turns out to be something that everyone loves and wants. So this is, again, it comes back down to discernment, understanding how to learn how to read every part of your body, your energy, your mindset, the concepts of what the world tells us, because every concept from the world is another human being trying to understand their energy. And again, as I said before in many videos, if you have enough people or a group or collective who say this is the truth, and people say that's the truth, and they go out and live it, there's no real truth. That's all subjective. We can objectively see something and then make it truth, but subjectively we can all change and become whatever we want. And so with that thought and concept, you have to understand that even when people talk about, let's say, religion, they're born again, whatever, you had to conceptually accept that who I was before is not who I am now. I have a chance to renew myself. That's why spirituality is so powerful, because it gets lumped in with religion, but the true concept of spirituality is allowance, it's acceptance, it's understanding, it's letting the unknown be what it is while it comes to you and you accept it. Not every part of it, but the acceptance of learning, because when you learn, you integrate. And when you integrate, then you start to, what we say, evolve and grow past and become something greater. That's why I think Steven Universe is a great cartoon, because when they talk about the crystal gems and the stones And they do that part where amethyst, I think they break into half and it has the masculine side of them and the feminine side of them. That's both parts of them, right? They exist as one, regardless of how people want to identify the body. The energy itself is one. And so when we, again, this is why when we come into connections with people and relationships with people, we say, oh, I feel like I'm whole. Well, you should be whole on your own, but conceptually, I understand what you're saying. Being around this person makes you feel whole because their feminine energy matches with your feminine energy. Their feminine energy matches with your masculine energy. Your masculine energy matches with their masculine. Your masculine matches with their feminine. And so you have two sets of you, but it's technically four, and you're interacting. And I tell people, when you can integrate both, then you have this beautiful unity of self where it's like, oh my God, now it's a power couple. And I mean a real one, not one that just wants to do it for aesthetics, but the ones who genuinely know, like, we work so well together. We work so well off of each other. What I can do well, they can do even better. What I can do even better, they can do well. Together, we do great, right? This is what it's all about when you're learning connections, even with friendships and family members. There's friends where you just instantly, you get each other. And again, that's why we say be careful with trauma bonding, because there's some situations where if you are stuck in trauma, then you will meet that person where they are, and they'll have all these amazing attributes like you, but depending on their trauma and the karma cycle that they're looped in, right? You have trauma, which are triggers, and then you have a karma cycle, which is, again, imprinting of your ancestors or how you were taught or how you were raised. So now you have all this trauma and you have a karma cycle you're living in, and you meet someone else who has the same type of trauma. We grew up in the same neighborhood, the same stuff, so now you're bonding over that trauma. But then you also have your own past of what you were taught in your household, where they were taught it's okay to talk back, and they were taught you never talk back. So yes, you both are friends, but you end up balancing each other out in the negative aspects of what you're lacking. So now this friend likes you because you talk back and speak up, but they also kind of resent you. And then this person loves you that you know, are just what we call stoic and kind of sit back and don't let seem to get to you. But at the same time, it makes you look like a pushover. So in a weird way, you get this friendship dynamic where it's like, I'm the strong one and they're the weak one, but that's no such thing. You're both equally strong and weak in the same aspects, because it's becoming I'm gonna say a trauma bond or symbiotic relationship where you're living off each other. So flip that. You both are thriving. You both have great jobs. You both are outgoing people. You both know what you're doing. You're not becoming friends because you both were hurt or anything like that. I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying that's not your only reason to be friends. And you also know how to step up and step away and have your independence, right? Now you two balance each other out in a way that's more healthy, because now it's like, well, yeah, we're both busy and all this, but I go out and do workouts and they come with me. And so that person's like, yeah, if they don't tell me to come with them, I sometimes forget to take care of myself. That's a healthy friendship. That's a healthy dynamic, right? That's going back into a wholeness that gets you back to oneness. Because again, relationships become a reflection of self, and they also become an expression of self. So all of these parts of self, they still come back to the oneness of who you're expressing yourself to be to the universe. So whoever you surround yourself with, you're literally telling the world, that's who I am, just in fragmented parts. So if you learn that, okay, I am not these fragmented parts, I am the whole of these parts, then you actually can see who you are and what you represent. Again, this one took me a minute to figure out, because I would always seem to connect with people who have really big personalities, but instead of using those energies for good, they used it for villainism. They were the mean girls, the mean boys, and all that. And people, again, I didn't realize. I just thought like, oh, okay, that's just who they are. But then I realized like, oh, you are actually using your good for evil, and I was using my good for good. And they thought I was being fake. They thought I was being phony. Like, oh, you're just as mean as me. No, I just thought that's who you like to be. And because you never actually did anything to hurt me physically or anything that I knew in front of my face, I just assumed that you were just being funny, right? That's where a lot of people gotta get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. There's some people who, they're playfully talk crap, but then there's some people who literally are talking crap. And they think that because you're talking crap with them, then your heart is just as dark as theirs. And that's not always the case. So again, it goes in many, many layers. It goes in many different avenues. But again, it comes back to when you know your heart and you know yourself and you are learning your heart and you're learning yourself, it's easier to forgive others. I'm not saying you have to keep them in your life if they did something crappy to you or you see that they are using, as I said, they're good for evil. But those are times when I'm like, ugh, yeah, these people gotta go. But I let them go with love. And that's when I realized, like, okay, now I see where I used to be. I'm so happy I've outgrown that. Maybe one day they will, but until then, I have to move on, press on, because I'm coming back to the closer fragments of self, right? In my mind, this is how it worked. We were all, it's literally like the crystal gems. We were all up here as our own solid gem, and then we went flying and got fractured and just split everywhere. And all these different parts of us are fragmented everywhere in many different timelines and many different selves and many different people. And as we keep living, we keep coming closer and closer and closer to self, or what we call ascension. And so the more you see something that you know you used to do but you no longer do, you get closer back to your fuller whole self. One of the things I learned, even with my own parents, I recognized that one of my parents was very over dominating, but also super anxious attachment. The other one was very dismissive and pretty much disappeared, you know. So I'm assuming they were avoidant, fearful avoidant, or it could have been a dismissive avoidant, I'm not sure. But I kept replicating that relationship in my life. And I didn't know it. I was like, why do I keep attracting mama boys? And I'm like, no matter how successful they were, they always had this weird element of trying to make me their mother energy. Because I am a nurturer and I am loving and I do come off as soft and kind. But just as nurturing and loving as I am, I'm also just as masculine. So I'm very much, do not try me. You're not going across me. Okay, well, here's how I take care of myself and carry myself. Now, to someone who wants to manipulate you, it comes off as control. It comes off as manipulative, and in their mind, it's a war, and they want to battle you. But for someone who knows who they are and knows that you can exist as the leader in your world, I can exist as the leader in my world. If we come together, we can be two leaders together. We're not trying to command, to tell each other what to do or anything. We're just coexisting. Some people don't know how to do that. And so that's where I say, when you learn who you are, when you come back to the oneness of self, you start to peep these patterns of these people and then in these environments as well. Because it's a lot of times you'll meet these people too in environments like, let's say, work. Well, this is how it's always been, and this is how we always did it, and we don't want to change anything. That's somebody holding on to their position so tight because they can see that the times are changing and they'll be irrelevant soon. And so when you know that you're like, let's say, bottom of the barrel, or you're at the bottom of the totem pole, but you have great ideas and you can see that if they just integrated this thing into the workplace, it will work so much better. People see that. And that's why you have to start remembering too, when they talk about toxic work environments, they see that and they want to get rid of you, but they don't know how. Now, if you work with light like I do, it's very hard to get rid of somebody who works with light, because the universe is going to always protect you. And no matter how much they work against you, all they end up doing is putting you higher up on a pedestal. So that's why I say, don't play the games that they play, because they'll pull you back down to their status. And so energetically, when they're talking about spirituality, it's the same thing. Don't let yourself fall. If you know that you're not an angry person, don't let yourself fall to anger. If you know that you're a happy person, stay there. You're going to have days when you get upset. But if your personality is anger, then your default is going to be control. If your personality is happy, then your default is going to be acceptance, allowance, right? And so when I go back to the relationship aspect of it all, I had to keep learning that it's like, listen, it's okay to want to take a chance and just jump into something and see where it goes. But you also have to know why you're doing it. Am I doing this because I'm ready and I'm excited and I want to have fun and I want to close out this timeline, or I want to expand this timeline? Then you start to pay attention more so to the connections you keep in your life. Because for me, I kept feeling like I was stuck. I was like, why do I feel stuck? And it was because I was giving up all of my freedom and independence to someone else's timeline. And because of that, that blocks you from meeting the other parts of you in timelines that you were supposed to meet, which means That day that you said, oh, I'm going to go out and go meet my friends for a drink, and you're with somebody who's like, no, I don't really want to go. Okay, well, I'm still going to go. They can stay or come. It doesn't matter. But if they do stay, go have fun, because you were probably meant to meet someone who could extend your life, and whatever that may be, work, love, something, friendship, other, who knows. Now if the person comes and they want to be a Debbie Downer, let them. It's okay, because you're still going to meet that energy. And what's going to happen is now you have these dual timelines where the universe sees that you're participating and this other person's trying to sabotage. They will remove them accordingly. I promise you, it always works out that way. I don't know why it plays out that way, but it's like, as long as you do what your intuition tells you to do and you trust it, you become more solid with yourself. And that's when you get back to that, what we call wholeness, oneness. Even when it comes to what you eat. I am not telling people don't eat what they want to eat, but for me, it got to the point of where it was like, I can't eat flesh because it doesn't feel right anymore. Not to my body. I'm not saying that it's not good for you or that you don't get nutrients. Again, I'm not here to start an argument or debate. I'm just saying, think about why you're doing it. If you're going to eat flesh, at least make sure it's the best flesh. At least make sure it's healthy. At least make sure it's well fed and you're getting the good stuff and not something that's processed and crappy. Because remember, hormones are real, energy's real, secretions are real. So if you're eating the secretions and hormones of other flesh, then yeah, you're going to feel that throughout your body. That's why people say eat clean. So when it comes back to what I'm trying to emphasize is, make sure you're eating clean. That gets you back to wholeness. Right? Because again, you don't have to eat flesh and you can still eat crappy, but I'm saying make sure you're eating clean stuff. Now, I'm not saying I'm always good at it. If you watch my videos, you'll see my face fluctuates a lot because I love sugar. And I had to learn how to be like, sugar is not good for your body, sugar is not good for your mind, and it's not good for your mood. It's fun and tasty in the moment, but it makes me crash and then makes me feel groggy, and it's like, cut it out. Stop doing this to yourself. And I'm like, I know. And so when I get back to my actual wholeness of self and oneness, and I trust and listen to my body, then it's much easier for me to process other things where it's like, okay, once it's purged out of my body, then I actually don't crave sugar as much as I used to. Trick of the trade, I eat things like dates and raisins and mixed nuts and peanut butter, and that gets boring too, but once in a while it's nice. And if you want, they have stuff out there to make alternative candies and gummies. I mean, for the most part, sweets is pretty simple. It's either a gummy of some sort, some hard candy, or a chocolate. So there's many different ways to reproduce all of those if you're really craving it, but I digress. So other ways to get back to self that I like to do is nature. I've done it many times before, but I think that's what you're talking about when you do meditation. You can even use like sounds, but like if you're sitting next to water, let your breathing line up with the wave. You hear the earth breathing, you hear the ocean breathing, and you hear your body breathing with it, and it just feels like syncope. You're like, ooh, or not syncope, that's when you pass out, but it feels like when everything syncs up in line, and you're just like, oh, it just feels good. Like when you're listening to a frequency, sometimes I'll listen to frequency sounds and like it just goes through one ear out the other, and it just feels like my brain is being flossed. I don't know how to explain it, but like, it's just when everything is balanced in this one moment, it feels so good to feel. And it also feels good to feel both halves individually, but at the same time, right? So it's that's why I say, like, when you're out in nature, it's a lot more natural for you to feel your natural self versus sitting in the house all day and like not getting outside, and you're in this stagnant environment that doesn't really have any natural airflow or natural light. Like, yeah, you can have a window and a fan, but that's still in a way artificial because it's not you out in the elements, right? It's filtered. And so learning how to embrace that oneness took me a minute too. That's why, as they say, when you go outside, you just feel different. You feel refreshed. Or even taking a bath or a shower, right? Like if you're in a shower and you're just letting the water run on you, just stop and let it feel you. Just feel it. Don't even try to like rush through the shower. Just literally feel the water coming down out of the faucet and just falling down onto you, and let yourself feel the beads roll down your body. Feel it individually rolling down your arm, rolling down your back, rolling down your chest. That's how you become one with self. Literally, that's how you learn to feel yourself. So don't be afraid to step into these concepts that seem weird to some people. I know a lot of the times when we talk about meditation and prayer and stuff, it feels very foreign to people, but all it is you talking to yourself. When we say that we are God, we are oneness, because if we are from God and we are energy of God and we're breath of God, then we're just fragmented parts of God, which means that, as we say, when we pass this earth and we go back to our source energy, it doesn't matter the flesh, it matters the heart. If we are who we truly are being, and we know who we are, when we go back to source energy, we'll be called back to our creator, which again, if we believe in the duality of good and bad, then some people say heaven and hell. Well, that's where you're gonna go. So it's not for me to determine, it's for you to decide. So again, when they say make your body as light as possible, they mean take away the trauma, take away the pain. It doesn't belong to you. It only belongs to this avatar's identity, partially. And that's not, I would say it belongs to this avatar's story, not their identity. Their identity becomes who they created to be and their legacy. But in the beginning, you are identified as the template. And so when you learn how to live past that template and you embrace not only the consciousness of the human body, but also the consciousness of the soul's body, because the soul, again, has the emotional state and the spiritual state connected to it, then we become aligned. When we talk about logical thinking or emotional intelligence, that's when you allow it to process in a way that now all paths are clear, nothing is blocked. When I say that I learn that relationships, and of all kinds, relationship with self, relationship to others, they're all mirrors and they're all portals. And all real mirrors are portals because somebody else stared in it. You don't know what energy that person put in it. When you're sitting there staring in the mirror, you're like, I hate myself, I don't like myself. And you go look in the mirror yourself, you feel that energy. But if you really are a good person, it's not going to stick to you. It's going to reflect back and go back to that energy. And you just tell yourself, I love myself, I love who I am. That's why mirror work is good. Mirror work is another excellent way to come back to oneness, because that was my first concept of really looking at myself like, I'm me and you're me. Like that one meme that kid did, I forgot his name, but it's like, I'm me looking at you, looking at me. Because again, if I did not have my sight, I wouldn't know what I look like. So to look at myself and see myself as like, oh, this is my flesh, this is my body. But then knowing that we pass from this earth one day, it's like, well, my consciousness knows that it won't be here forever, but my consciousness doesn't leave. My consciousness is forever. My energy is forever. My spirit is forever. So this is what I mean by embracing the oneness within, learning who you truly are, accepting your story for what it is, not running from it, not negating from it, not bullying yourself to not trust it. Just know it is what it is. And you get to decide, again, how you project it to the world, how you invite the world in, right? Because again, how you invite it in decides how you will express energy and how you will interact with those around you. And so from there, that's how you get closer to yourself. That's how you get closer to the oneness of spirituality, not just the oneness of I am, of who I am, but the oneness of who we are, which is the I am, where they talk about the third eye, the mind, the heart, the body. Anyways, thank you guys for following along per usual. As always, I love you. I love you. Again, few things to take away. Do body immersion techniques. Again, that's like the tanks, the deprivation tanks and stuff like that. Going outside, breathing with the air or the wind, stopping to listen. Doing exercises at home, again, very simple stretches, letting your body actually stretch, not forcing the stretch, but feeling the stretch. These are all concepts of things that get us back to oneness. So read as well. Reading is good. All right, anywho, I love you guys. Check me out on my social medias as well as my website. And if you like, you can subscribe or just keep joining me every week and I'll keep producing more. Love ya.